Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Coming Out Cosmic podcast. My name is Christine Nowinski, ET contactee and channel. It has been a while since I've posted a podcast episode, and it is because of that last identifier that I used. Of course, my ego wants to come through and say, I'm a channeler now. However, it's true that ever since I started channeling ETs and higher dimensional consciousness, my business model, my whole life, my relationships, so many things have changed. And that includes the way in which I approach this podcast. And so my apologies for those who love to listen. I do intend to post weekly. However, I hope that you can understand that many things have changed. However, I love the Coming Out Cosmic podcast, and it is not going away anytime soon whatsoever. And on today's episode, I have brought back my friend Rosanna.
Hi, everybody.
And today we are going to be talking about reptilians, specifically reptilian attachments, because I've gotten a lot of questions about them in my free school community. If you haven't joined yet, I will post it down below. There's been a lot of talk about reptilians in general, and the reason for this episode is because I finally had an experience where I needed to channel for a person who had a reptilian attachment. So today we're going to talk about how that happened, how that experience was for me. And I've got, of course, Rosanna here to ask questions from the point of view of somebody who doesn't know what this could be like, right? Like, this is something interesting.
Yeah, so the brief understanding that I know about reptilian attachments is like it could be just like not necessarily that person's a reptilian, but they might have like some DNA or like influence from people who have more reptilian in them. I'm really interested to know because you won't tell me the story until this podcast. So I'm really excited.
That's right. I immediately texted Rosanna and I was like, I don't think I texted you. I think that you came over.
No, you texted me. You're like, I have to tell you about this reptilian attachment story. And then I came over and I'm like, can I hear the story? You're like, no. We'll do it in a podcast. And I'm like, okay.
Oh, I remember. Yeah. Oh my God. It's because I think that it took a lot of energy to analyze the situation myself and to understand just this new experience that I had. And I think that it'd be really interesting, fruitful, awesome for the audience to hear how this happened. And so I thank you for waiting.
Yeah. So don't worry, everybody hearing this for the first time. It is my raw reaction. I have not heard this story yet.
Let's get into the story about this person with a reptilian attachment. I am very, very mindful of protecting the identity of certain people who experience my channeling, whether that is in a one-on-one session, whether that is a friend, whether that is a group channeled session, whether that's randomly online on a webinar. I'm not going to say anything about who this individual is and where they found me, because it's very important that I protect their identity because they don't actually know that they have this reptilian attachment. And I will say that for people who are psychically inclined, which we all are, however, for those who know when they see somebody who has some sort of an attachment, I want to be very clear that it is not your responsibility. It is not my responsibility to tell this person that they have an attachment, because it could go pretty poorly to just go to somebody and say, you have an attachment.
Yeah, because especially if they're trying to wake up and they say you have a reptilian, and then we think that all reptilians are bad, even though they're not. There's good and bad in all species. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you don't want to hear that you have a reptilian attachment.
Yes. And also, when you get more into trusting of your own intuition and sensing different types of darkness around people, it's really important that you learn to connect with that person's higher self to see if that information is even to be given to them, if they should be given the information that they have an attachment. And for me, I immediately sensed that this was not the time and the place to tell this person about their attachment. It was more, actually, I'm getting the chills as I say that. And so I look back at this experience and I'm like, this I know is an experience for me to share my point of view, my perspective, and to let people know how I experienced this. Because for this person, it might not resonate that I believe they have a reptilian attachment, and it's not my responsibility to make them believe me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But when you told me, for some reason, I thought you told them about like like I said, don't know the story at all. I feel like I thought they were like asking questions and you're just like, well, it could be a reptilian attachment. I had no idea that you didn't tell them.
Yeah.
So now it's even more interesting.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. This was such a wild channeling session. I was fighting. I was in trance when I discovered they had an attachment, and I was fighting with my guides, the Lyrans. I was channeling them at the time. They're lion people, for those who don't know. And they don't care if you call them Lyrans or Lyrans. They have no preference in name. I was fighting with them. I was like, guys, what do I do? What do I do? So I can't wait to get into the story about what happened. Now, again, protecting the identity of this individual, I am going to call them by the name of Matthew. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that's fine.
So we're actually going to have Rosanna ask me questions about the experience, because if I frame up the experience, then there's going to be too much background that I tell. And again, I really don't want to give too many details about this individual. So Rosanna, knowing this topic, reptilian attachments is what we're going to talk about. What questions did you have about it?
My question is, when said person, so Matthew, asked a question to be channeled, was their question something along the lines of that brought in the reptilian attachment, or did you learn about it like separately, if that makes sense?
Like, was it something that I immediately sensed?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's a really good question. So it was not something that I immediately sensed. I will say that I was actually a little bit tricked by their energy. This is how reptilians and reptilian attachments work and function. They can be very trickster-like. And again, there's good and bad in all species, but this in particular was a malevolent reptilian attachment. And so now we get into a little bit of reptilian versus reptilian attachment. I do have a reptilians course in my Pensite link in bio that goes through the different ways that someone can, quote unquote, be a reptilian. So if you wanted more information, that's only $37. I will link it down below, because I'm not going to go into the definitions today. I'm just going to mention that the attachment did not immediately make itself known until I went into trance and started channeling and trying to figure out information about this individual. And information was not presented to me in a way that it did not feel authentic. This person, everything that they were saying felt like complete bullshit.
Okay.
Everything.
So, okay. Because I know, for example, a question where you can say, when you do tell them there's reptilians, it's like, I'm at work, I'm miserable, blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, well, so-and-so does have reptilian influence at said job. So like, that's what I meant by that question. Is this person a person, or are they part reptilian, I guess?
Yeah, that's a good question. So
Does that question make sense? Okay.
So yes, I can confirm that this person is a human.
Okay.
They have galactic ties. I think that all humans, mostly all humans, I don't say all because it's an absolute phrase and that would limit the universe. And so I think that most human beings have galactic DNA, specifically reptilian DNA, because of the reptilian brain. However, this individual had something attached to him. And this is how I knew. It's because it felt like there was an extra presence that was talking through him. So I could tell when this person was actually speaking from their own consciousness, and I could tell when it was the reptilian attachment that was speaking through them. And the reason I could tell this, and this happened during the questioning process, like you were saying, when I was channeling for this person, how did I know that there was a reptilian attachment? It all happened during the channeling question answer process. Right in the beginning, I did not sense this energy, but it became very clear the more this person spoke about their intentions for what answers they wanted in the channeling session. What I mean by that is when people come to me and they ask different questions about anything during a channeling session, the ETs that I channel will pick up on the intention of the question. And so anytime this person would ask a question and then say something as a follow-up, like they would say things like, oh, I want to know the answer to this question because I really want to help humanity. I really want to do this for the good of all involved. I instantly picked up on the fact that whatever was speaking through this person was not meaning what they said. It felt inauthentic. It felt like a lie. And that's when I knew that there was something else attached to him. Does that make sense?
Yes. So In past podcasts, we talked about how you dated a reptilian. What's the difference between your ex being a reptilian and this person?
Oh, my ex had so much reptilian DNA.
Okay, so
Yeah,
it's the
so
DNA.
much.
Okay, so this person doesn't necessarily have that much reptilian DNA. They just have the attachment whispering in their ear type of thing.
Correct. I
Okay.
actually got full body chills. This person does not seem to have a ton of reptilian DNA at all. Actually, this person is extremely psychic.
Okay.
He had a ton of different powers and different channeling abilities himself. This is something that can be a cause for concern for people who get into different channeling and they don't really know who or what they're channeling. I feel like this person was so psychic, but did not have great discernment, did not have a mentor, did not have a guide, and just kind of opened themselves up to these different entities. And they were like, oh, I'm channeling all of these ascended masters and they're telling me how powerful I am. And yet it just seemed like this person was being tricked by something else
Okay.
attached to him.
Is it something like how when you and Kelsey went to Mexico and she got an attachment, is it something like that they can work on to get rid of it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But this person, and I'm sorry if I'm messing up the pronouns. I don't want to give away if it's a girl or a boy. So I'm saying like he, they, I may say she. So I don't know. I apologize in advance. But this person is so new. It seems, I can feel into their energy, seems so new to all of this. Their soul and consciousness seems so new to all of this that they're unaware of who and what they're channeling. And it seems as though it is an attachment that's just attached and taking advantage of them.
Could you tell how long they've been attached to this person?
Their whole life. That's the
Okay.
message I just got. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I feel like, I think we talked about this before, like when you're low vibration, you have like all this bad luck going on and you just get down in the dumps is a good time when people or entities attach to you. So I wasn't sure if it was something new, like when they were learning, because they could be super psychic. Like I've been told I'm really psychic and I've like never even thought of that. And I'm like, I don't even know how to open this up. So they could be super psychic. And then if they have a low moment, those entities attach because they know that these people are psychic. If that, does that make sense?
It makes sense. Like if
Okay.
somebody is going through like a dark depression, let's say that it was started off because somebody passed away or they
Yeah.
lost their job and they naturally go into a low vibrational state that is sustained for a long period of time, then an entity can attach itself to this person. However, this was not a phase thing.
Okay.
For this person, it seems as though this entity has always been attached to this person. It's feeling like it's karmic. It's feeling like it's absolutely something that was agreed upon for some sort of reasons and lesson, which is typically the case. It's funny because I can feel the ETs want to channel through me right now. They're like standing next to me and they're like, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this, but I'm going to put them aside and allow for my consciousness to tell the story.
Yeah.
So do you want to get into some other reasons why I could feel an
Yeah.
attachment?
Okay, so what I understand right now is that this attachment or reptilian is whispering in this person's ear and they don't realize it.
Yes. And I like how you're saying whispering in this person's ear because that definitely is one of the ways that they can influence a person is by that psychic ability of hearing. They will say things to you and you think that it's your own mind telling you these things when it's actually something attached to you. The way that you can tell if this is happening in your case would be feeling into the energy of that thought that comes through. And if it feels like it's meant to stroke your ego, if it feels like it's meant to lower your vibe, chances are it's a parasitic thought that's coming to you, and or it could be some sort of attachment that's talking to you. Now, I don't want people to be afraid and thinking that they have reptilian attachments to them. I find that this is something that is, I wouldn't say it's rare, but if you're on the awakening path and you've already done a lot of healing and you have learned how to discern and you have guides and mentors and you really trust your own intuition, then I'd say you don't have to fear any sort of attachments.
I think it's just becoming aware. So, I mean, going back to, I think your second podcast with Kelsey, I think it was the second one, she seemed to be aware that her bad luck could be an attachment. And when she was like aware.
Yeah, that's it. It's
like,
all
just be
awareness.
aware. Yeah.
Exactly, that this could happen. So I'm not trying to make people be fearful, but again, it is a possibility of something that can happen in one's life. And so going back to the, how did I know that this person had an attachment. So again, it was this feeling of another presence, and their voice actually changed when they talked. They were not actively channeling. So like when I channel ETs, my voice, my cadence, my tone will change because it is adapting to the energy and the resonance of that entity. This person was not actively voice channeling. However, they would speak differently when they were just in their conscious state. And so that's how I also knew that there was something else literally speaking through them that did not feel good.
Yeah.
So that's one thing.
Okay.
Another thing that one should consider that shows that somebody can have some sort of reptilian influence or some sort of reptilian attachment is through the eyes.
Yes.
Now, again, protecting the identity of this individual. I don't want to talk too much about Matthew here, other than the fact that I may or may not have seen his eyes shift into a slit. And another thing, yes, because I was still, after the channeling session, I was still a little bit unsure if this person had an attachment, because it doesn't always present itself as, oh, this is extremely obvious. And I'll talk through what happened when I was actively channeling as well. But I was like asking my guides, I'm like, okay, if this person has some sort of an attachment, can you please like show me reptilian, show me reptilian. And at one point I did notice a shift in their eyes into a slit. Now it did not scare me because it was confirming something that I already knew. I will say with the eyes shifting, when people have a lot of reptilian influence and attachment, reptilian DNA, etc. Again, my reptilians course explains this a little bit more in detail. But when there is some sort of reptilian influence, it's not even just the eyes shifting into a slit that can happen. However, it also can be that there's like a cloudiness to their eyes.
Yeah. I think I know what you mean by that.
It's like you're looking at their eyes, but you're like, I'm not actually looking at this person. You're looking at like an entity or something. Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, I kind of just imagine like an old cat or dog.
Yes.
Like when they get older and they can't see very well, their eyes look cloudy. So
that's what it seems like.
So do you think everybody or like anybody else can see that, or just people that are more spiritually in tune?
I think you have to be aware. You have to be aware. And for people to be listening to this podcast and to hear my own experience, I think that this is going to help them to become aware. There's like a cloudiness to somebody's eyes when they have an entity attached to them. This actually has happened to somebody in my life. I'm not going to say who, but this person also has an entity attachment. I don't believe it's reptilian. However, I have actually seen this person's eyes shift, and this person's eyes changed more into a darkness, and I felt the energy that happened when there was a switch. I felt such hatred and jealousy coming from this person, and I was like, oh man, I'm not talking to this person, I'm talking to their attachment right now. And that's exactly what happened during the channeling session.
Okay, so like somebody that might not even believe in any of this stuff can still see eyes shifting and changing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They might notice like, well, there's something weird with their eyes, or I don't want to look at their eyes, because the eyes are the window to the soul.
Yeah, but they might not know what that means. Yeah. Okay.
And then another sign, I think I talked a little bit more about the speaking with Matthew and how I could intuit that there was something else just speaking through him, because of the voice changes, and it just seemed more inauthentic. When you're on this awakening path, that's really important to start tuning into whether or not you feel that somebody is lying or whether or not they're actually being truthful. And there were some things that Matthew would say that seemed extremely truthful, but there were other things that did not seem truthful whatsoever. And that got me questioning. I'm like, this person's intentions are all over the place. The vibe is off.
So, you know how you said earlier how they asked the question and then added onto it? I don't know about you, but for me, anytime someone asks a question or says something and then adds more that's not necessary, I always feel like that's like bad intention or a lie.
Oh, it's usually the ego.
Is that because like anytime, for example, at work, hey, I can't come into work today. I have this, and this, and like my grandma's in the hospital, whatever. If you're giving me a reason, whether that's true or not, I feel like it's more of a lie.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, because this person was asking, like, I want to know more information about, let's say, my psychic abilities. This is my background with my family, and I've been told X, Y, and Z. Like, again, I'm trying to protect the identity here, but they just kept going on and on. And then they were telling me the reason why they wanted this information, which felt extremely inauthentic. If they had just asked like, hey, what are my psychic abilities?
Yeah.
It would have been more truthful and authentic in my eyes, because I think their ego, which protects, which defends, which is in fear. I think the ego was speaking up in this channeling session, but then I think that the ego was actually triggered by the reptilian attachment.
Yeah. No, I get that. I don't know. Anytime someone makes a whole story about, hey, I can't come to work today. All right, just call off then. But then you have to give a reason why you can't come in. I don't know why. It's just like, to me, it makes it feel less authentic, less truthful. I do want to know more about my ego. I do feel like I have been catching on more when my ego is coming involved, and I want to learn more about that.
Oh, I can't wait to talk and to teach about the ego, because that's next with Coming Out Cosmic, because that was a huge part of my journey, was being able to work with and not to silence the ego, but to push the ego aside. And so what happens with entity attachments is when they speak through you, they like to stroke your ego. They like to make you seem bigger and better. This is one of the ways that they can communicate with you, so that you will know, okay, maybe this is some sort of attachment that's talking with me right now. They want for the ego to be fueled. They don't want for your soul to be empowered. They want to fuel your ego, not your soul. And so this is again why I knew this person had some sort of influence that was stroking their ego. Now, there are some people who are just narcissists, who have a big ego, not because they have an attachment, but I don't know, maybe it was their soul's choice.
Yeah, I try to avoid those kind of people. When I know my ego's involved and I'm like, I know it's just my ego, but you know, it still happens. It still happens. I just think you just got to be aware of it.
Yeah. And that's, again, this podcast episode is all about awareness and possibilities and knowing that, okay, is this ego? Is this attachment? Is this influence? What is this? And so we're just offering different ideas here from our own lived experience, so that you guys can start expanding your consciousness and your mind and thinking, wow, maybe this isn't how it seems. Maybe I'm not actually talking to Matthew. Maybe I'm actually talking to a reptilian attachment. And the reason why, again, I knew that it was reptilian, there's so many reasons. Okay, let me explain. So even after the channeling session, I got so many different signs, because I was asking my guides, I was like, guides, like, can you please confirm? And I'll go into what happened during the channel and what, like, the internal struggle that I had. But after the channeling session, I asked my guides for signs. Literally I heard reptilian in my mind. I saw a little dragon figurine, a green dragon figurine nearby. That is a symbol for me about Dracos and reptilians. Like, I just got all these signs and I'm like, okay, I have to trust these signs. And then of course the shifting of the eyes. So now going into the channeled session, even before I started channeling for this person, for Matthew, my guides told me there's going to be a disruption in your channeling today. I heard that clairaudiently.
Dang.
I know. And so there was some sort of like a tech glitch in the beginning, and I was like, oh, this is the disruption. No big deal. Okay. But it was not. I later figured out, I'm like, oh, this is what they were actually talking about. And so I will tell you right off the bat that when I was tuning into this person's energy, their energy was wild, chaotic, not contained, all over the place, made me feel uncomfortable, was super icky. I tried to get a clear read on them, and I tried to have my channel be as accurate with information as I could, but like information that was coming through me for this person just was not clear, was not making sense. The person kept saying, oh, you know, like, I'm very blocked and you can't read me. And when people say that, yes, sometimes there is an aspect that is true, but a lot of times it is just the ego coming through saying, this is what the ego would say in this case. I'm so special. I'm too special for you to even be able to read me. That's typically what happens when somebody comes through and says that I can't be read.
Yeah.
It's typically the ego that comes through, which again can be triggered by some sort of negative attachment. And so as I'm trying to like channel for this person, and you know, we're like talking one-on-one, like the ETs are talking through me, and this person's Matthew's asking me questions and I can't get a clear read. I'm telepathically talking to the Lyrans. That's who I was channeling at the time. And I'm like, guys, like, what is going on? What is going on? And they just kept telling me like, you're doing fine. Don't worry about this, but you're not talking to Matthew. So if you want to step aside and not channel anymore, you can do that. And so in that moment, I broke out of trance
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of like made up an excuse for why I couldn't like continue the channeling. And that was totally fine. Like this person's ego was already stroked in that
Yeah.
they thought, oh, it's because you can't read me because I'm so freaking powerful. No, that's what the reptilian attachment wants you to think. And
Yeah.
it's true, we're all very powerful, but this person kept saying shit that just made it seem as though they thought that they were so much better than everybody else,
So,
all
like,
other people.
So could you actually not read this person, or you could read them, but the information you were getting is not something you should say?
Oh, well, so a couple of things here. I knew all that I wanted to know about this person in that I was connecting with a negative entity through this channel, and I did not personally want to read anything more than that.
Okay.
And so anything that was then filtered through me, I was thinking, I'm not actually connecting with this person's soul or higher self. I'm trying to, but this entity is blocking it. And this is
Gotcha.
my experience. I understand other people may have different experiences when they're channeling and there's a negative entity associated with it. But it was just like overall, myself, I was so freaking overwhelmed because this was my first experience with an attachment. And so I just wanted out because this
Yeah.
person was so icky. Their soul is beautiful. Their
Yeah.
soul is pure. They
Okay.
are so powerful. But this energy coming from this entity was, it just like, I don't know how to explain it.
I just like the way you're talking, I just feel like ooey gooey, like slimy.
Yeah, like they were trying to pull a fast one over me. You know,
Yeah.
they thought that they'd be able to. And when I say they, please know that I'm typically referring to the attachment. It's not this person. This person has no idea that they have an attachment. And again, it's not my responsibility to tell them that unless they come to me and ask. But to be honest, I am not surprised that this situation happened because it's just a learning experience for me. I'm sure that I had contracts with Matthew to learn and to speak about this experience. And if anything, I really want for listeners to understand that these things happen. They're not scary once you become aware of it. It's like, oh, okay, this is probably why I couldn't read this person, or probably why they're coming off as inauthentic and disingenuous. It was just a really odd but kind of cool experience.
Yeah, I'm sure you're going to probably encounter it again, because even though people that are awakening, they might still have attachments and or ego problems. And you're like, how is this person acting like this when they're awakened? Like, just because you're awakened doesn't mean you don't have those problems.
This is what the whole concept of spiritual bypassing is. Have you heard of that?
No.
Okay. You're so funny because I saw you kind
I
of
feel like I should know, but I don't.
No, that's okay, because what you just did there was you did not allow for your ego to come through and lie. So congratulations. That was good. I saw you kind of pause. You're like, should I know about this? So for me, spiritual bypassing is this concept of just truly believing that everything is light and love. And because of this belief, you kind of bypass anything that's more shadowy or negative without realizing that we do live in a universe that is based on polarity. There's negative, there's positive. From the highest perspective, the ETs will argue and say that everything is actually neutral. There's no positive, there's no negative. It is just in your own perception that makes something that way. However, I think that to be a healed spiritual person who is walking this awakening path, it's very important to know that there is the opposite spectrum. There is the light and the darkness to make a full circle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think I consider myself more on the positive side. I mean, I had someone tell me, "You're so positive, it makes me sick." So, and I'm like, "Thank you."
Yeah. So that person, that is probably a person who needs to heal.
Yeah, I mean, they come to me to talk to me because they said when I feel down, I need to talk to someone. I don't know if they have a therapist, but like they come to me, they're like, because you're so positive, it makes me sick, and I always feel better after talking to you.
That person has some shadow. You know, if you're feeling icky about somebody else's positivity, for example, that just typically could mean that there's some shadow that you need to deal with. And so going back to the whole spiritual leaders and spiritual bypassing and making sure that you understand dark and shadowy stuff in order to heal, that's extremely important. And so specifically in Matthew's case, Matthew is very psychic, very aware. Matthew is actively channeling. However, because Matthew has, it just seems like Matthew's ego is so big. Again, I think that it has a lot to do with what the attachment is telling Matthew, so that they think that they're bigger and better and more powerful than other people. I think that Matthew just needs to step back and realize that nobody is better than anybody else. And the only reason why somebody would believe that is because it is a fear of the ego. And usually that fear is affirmed by somebody's belief that they're actually not powerful. So if you meet somebody who's like, I'm so powerful, I'm so grandiose, I'm this and that, it's typically just a front for their ego to protect them, because deep, 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 deep down, they don't actually feel valuable at all.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like social media, people that post all the time about their life being great, and like deep down they are probably miserable people.
They're using it as a
Yeah.
front. Typically, yes. This is
Yeah.
why I don't post anything
Yeah,
about
I
me
don't
and
post.
Chris.
Well, I don't post. I mean, I'll post my artwork. So if you want to go follow that, go for it. But
Oh, yes. Follow Wait. Okay, give our listeners your Instagram handle.
it's daphne.co.rh. And
And-
I paint and I crochet.
How do you spell Daphne for people who don't know?
Daphne.
Yes. Daphne.co.rh. You have to follow Rosanna because she's an incredible artist, and that is how she channels, is through her artwork. A lot of times people, when they're inauthentically posting or inauthentically channeling something or inauthentically doing anything, it is typically because there is some sort of fear. And just remember too that a fear can actually be fueled by negative influences and or attachments around you. And so I think that that's a good way to notice if somebody is operating within fear, operating within ego, perhaps has some malevolent influence around them, is anytime you notice them either saying something that doesn't feel authentic or posting something that looks inauthentic. That again is typically something that they're hiding. It's not their true self, it's not their true soul, and so they need to go through some shadow work. They need to go through some parts of themselves that they don't like, so that they can feel healed and actually authentically raise their vibration, so they don't have to deal with the ego and or a negative entity anymore.
Yeah. I don't know. Just live in the moment.
Yes. All right. So I hope that you guys gathered something from this podcast episode. Again, I want to talk a little bit more in depth about reptilian attachments, but I am protective of identities involved. And so if you guys liked this podcast episode, please don't forget to rate it 5 stars, subscribe on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. I've got all the different social media platforms. Rosanna, thank you so much for being here today.
Yes. Thank you for telling me this story finally.
Oh my God, you're welcome. And I can give you more details later. I just, not in a public format.
Oh, of course.
Yes. Okay. And for anybody who wants to book a one-on-one channeling session with me and the ETs, feel free to check out the link that I'm posting down below. And don't forget to join the free school community on April 22nd. I am having a free Mother Gaia channeling event. Today is April 14th. So I don't know when you're listening to this podcast, but hopefully you can join in as I channel Mother Gaia, and we can keep things a little bit more high vibrational around here, because sometimes attachments is a more low vibe topic, but you got to walk both ends of the spectrum to fully understand and to fully be healed. So again, thank you everybody for joining Coming Out Cosmic, and I hope to see you guys in the school community. Thank you again, Rosanna.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.